Hello and welcome to this episode of Self-Made. I'm your host, Dee Brown CEO. My guest today is the founder and CEO of Business Briefings, LLC. Please help me welcome Bryan Cunningham to Self-Made. Bryan, glad to have you on the show, man.
Hey, Dee, thanks a lot. It's a great opportunity. Thank you for having me on.
No, you're more than welcome. So, Bryan, we're going to jump right in. Just to help kind of form up the story of your life, I want to start at your childhood. Where did you grow up and what was your childhood like?
Okay, great. I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, actually born at The Ohio State University.
Okay.
Mother of two young men, my brother and I, Chet, and grew up in a single family parent home, boys in the hood type thing. And, we found our way, moved around a little bit, moved up to Cleveland for a little while, moved back to Columbus, graduated from high school, Briggs High School in 1985. And great childhood, in our neighborhood, there were a bunch of males in camaraderie. We all had single moms.
Yeah.
And so, we kind of ran the streets and did what we needed to do. I think that my mother instilled in us the opportunity of entrepreneurship early on in life, given the fact the income was limited in our home. So shoveling snow, newspaper routes, raking leaves, cutting grass, collecting pop bottles and taking them back to the store.
Right.
All those things, I had to generate income for myself and have pocket money. Allowance was $10 a week. And that didn't go very far back, even back in the early 70s. So went on to, in my childhood, graduated, and during my high school years, I played football and worked full time as well. Ended up my senior year working at PNC National Bank while I was in high school that senior year, and went on to college to Bowling Green State University, where I majored in criminal justice.
Hey, Bryan, I want to ask you a question. So I'm a product of a single mother household as well. So I understand, the challenges that come with being raised in that type of environment. Were there any particular challenges or obstacles that you faced as a child growing up?
Oh, absolutely. Given the fact there was no child support, given the fact, looking for mentors, a strong Black man to be, to look up to, it was kind of difficult. However, my mother did, had introduced me to attorneys, had to spend a day. I got in trouble. There was a blizzard in 1978. I was an unruly teen at that time, and that was a pivotal moment. Got caught in one of those vacant houses, just hanging out with my buddies. We didn't have school for like 3 weeks, and I was just out in the streets and got caught up and got arrested and spent the night in juvenile detention. That was a challenge I had to overcome, understanding association.
Yeah.
That was a very big, painful lesson in association. However, my mother was good friends with Les Brown.
Yeah.
He was on the radio station back in Columbus, Ohio. Actually, he got me my first suit, my Easter suit. And so a lot of the things he would do, we would go down on the radio station and do affirmations. I didn't know what it was, but we would say affirmations. And not long ago, I hooked up with him again, and I told him how those affirmations really guided my life. And as a result of that, it's where I am today. So that was amazing to have that. And so I've always sought out mentors, people that are somewhere where I'd like to go. Yeah.
Well, that's important. And that's one of the challenges that, children are facing in impoverished communities is really being able to find mentors and role models that they can reach out to and actually get guidance from. So that's definitely a challenge we face. Talk to me about high school. What was high school like for you?
High school was a struggle at first. I played football. I did a lot of things that my peers did. And I did work all throughout high school. In the ninth grade, 10th grade, I worked at the baseball stadium where the Columbus Clippers played. Matter of fact, Deion Sanders was on the farm team back then. I worked at Ohio State University at the football games when Archie Griffin was playing, and I sold soda pop and peanuts and Cracker Jacks at the stadium. And so just being busy, I took advantage of all the things, the community center, the boys club, the local recreation centers. Back in the day, we kept busy.
Yeah.
We weren't in the house. We didn't have video games. So we were
Right.
just out in the streets, and then we had that thing, the street lights come on. You gotta be home by the
That's
time the street
right.
lights
It's
come on.
actually the opposite of now because we were dying to get into the streets, and now the kids, want to lock up and play games and things of that nature. So, totally different environment. Coming from a single mother household, you graduated high school, and then you decide to continue your education. Were you a first generation college student?
Yes, in my household, I was. I'm the oldest, and you know, it was difficult getting in. My grades weren't that high because I was just busy. I was just, distracted. However, I got admitted 2 weeks after high school. In June, I went to summer semester,
Uh-huh.
and it was a bridge program. It was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. It took me out of my environment. It took me into a place where I had to grow on my own. At 17, I moved out and I was in the dorm on campus.
Yeah.
And so that was, and then I had some folks that had gone before me from my high school that were in an organization, and they surrounded me and basically helped guide me and mentor me through the process of being on campus. And so that was really great. I mean, it's probably one of the best times of my life in terms of changing and understanding the world.
What did you attend college?
Bowling Green State University. I went from 1980 to 1985.
Okay. Now, any significant events occur while you were there?
Absolutely. Major significant events. One, my sophomore year, I pledged my fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi, Zeta Nu Chapter. Another significant event was, just graduating. It came to a point where I was having to work 2 jobs and manage that, and while I was going to school. And so I graduated, and I remember a particular point where I needed this class to graduate, and it was a difficult class, and I got a 69, 1 point away from a C.
Yeah.
I had to have a D to pass, and I went to the professor, and I was like, listen, what is that? I'm 1 point away. I'm not asking you to give me anything, but let's look at these essay questions. Where's some points that I could, make up at? But he wasn't willing to negotiate.
Yeah.
So the hood came out of me, and I just, kind of flipped the desk and went crazy. And I got back home, and the dean of my college called me up, and he was laughing. He said, Bryan, and this guy looked like Mr. Magoo. He was laughing. He was like, Bryan, you scared that poor little man. What's going on? I need you to come in my office right now. And the fact that I was on the Criminal Justice Society committee, and he was our advisor, so we had a relationship. He knew my struggles. And I came to my office, and I was crying, and I was like, this is major in my life. He said, Bryan, I know you've been around. I know you've been involved. The spirit is done. We're not going to let this 1 point deter you. He said, I have the power of the pen, and I'm going to waive this class so that you can graduate. And that was a pivotal moment in my life at that point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was your
first one? Pardon me?
Go ahead.
That was a pivotal point, because I left my buddies back in the hood. They were that was when crack was hitting.
Yeah.
And so somehow I was taken out of that environment to go to college.
Right.
Be part of an organization and graduate. And then when it hit the small town of Bowling Green University, Bowling Green, Ohio, it hit, and it took me out when I graduated and I went on. And so you look at pivotal moments in your life,
right,
and during a crisis or a challenge, it causes you, it makes you be creative. It makes you be persistent. And that's about being resilient, would you say?
Right. Absolutely. And you mentioned the crack epidemic. During that time frame, how did that impact some of the people in your community, or maybe even family or friends?
Yeah, some of my best friends, I went off to college and they stayed back. And I remember going back that summer after my freshman year just to go back, hang out with my buddies, and things had changed. And I was in an environment, I was like looking around. I was, hey, let's go up on campus. Let's go, it's block party weekend. We're going, no, we want to do this.
Yeah.
And I stepped back from a moment. I was like, these aren't the guys I remember. These are, and so that was a pivotal moment. And to that point, some of them maybe overcame that situation and a lot of them didn't. A lot of them aren't here today, or a lot of them are incarcerated. And I was just fortunate and blessed to be able to, step back. And I think my mother would always tell me about my friends.
Yeah.
She was always on me. She was like the mean mom in the neighborhood. But at some point in my life, when I reflected, I called her back up. I said, thank you. The fact that she was persistent about, who I hung out with, what I was doing, and the fact that, the decisions I used to make, she would chastise me and I would be mad. But I came back to her one day. I said, thank you.
Yeah.
For, keeping your foot up on me and, doing what you needed to do to see, and my brother and I both are college educated. We graduated from the same university. So, that's a test. Out of our neighborhood on our street, I think out of 12 boys, only 4 of us graduated from college.
Yeah, that's a powerful story. Do you contribute a lot of who you are to your mom and the values that she instilled in you?
Absolutely. Her is wisdom and isms.
Yeah.
I hear them every day. Actually, we're business partners in one of the firms. I helped bring her business down to South Florida. She's a DBE and disadvantaged business, and she does diversity and inclusion. So she's a big time contractor. So, we're still growing, we're still learning, and I'm still getting her wisdom at she's at 80 right now. Mm-hmm.
Oh man, that's great. That's great. So talk to me about your journey after college. So you graduate from college, and how do you begin your professional career?
You know what? I did my internship at the State of Ohio Liquor Control Enforcement, and I went through the enforcement and was riding along with the enforcement agents, and was seeing myself being in that career. However, sometimes racism kicks in, particularly in law enforcement. And I had some folks that didn't really want me to be in that job. And so, okay, fine. Then I went to be a social worker at, actually I passed the deputy sheriff's test.
Okay.
For Franklin County. And they said I had to be a jailer for 3 years before I get on the street. I said, no, one, I'm not into wearing uniforms. I'm into wearing suits.
Yeah.
And 2, I don't want to be in jail, locked up 8 hours a day on that. But, some people, it's a career, but I saw otherwise. So I became a social worker at Children's Services and working with neglected, unruly youth and who had been removed from the home. And that was my first contact with, parents that had crack issues, and financial issues, and, that weren't educated and that couldn't even read or write. And it impacted me like, wow. And so at that point, I got promoted to director of a special Black male initiative called SIMBA through the county. I was the very first director. The goal was to get 100 Black men to be mentors to the young kids, Black males that were in foster home and under the supervision of the county. And we successfully did that. And then I got picked up by the Ohio State University Young Scholars Program. It's a 9-city program for kids starting in identifying them in the 6th grade, taking them all the way through high school, graduating with 3.0. And we gave them scholarships to the Ohio State University.
Hey, Bryan, let me ask you this question. It seemed that you spent a part of your earlier career working with at-risk youth and families that are from disadvantaged backgrounds. Are there any particular, stories or incidents that occurred that really impacted you?
Absolutely. Had one young mother, a mother of 2 twins, and she was strung out on crack cocaine. They had removed her kids, but through the intervention and the constant working with the family, we got her out of rehab, got her a job, and the kids, and got her kids back. She thrived. As a matter of fact, she's my Facebook friend. Yeah. She's a great grandmother now, and doing such things like that. The other thing is that through the Young Scholars Program, we have kids that one young lady is the assistant superintendent of Columbus Public Schools. I got twins that the one gentleman is a medical director of a hospital, and his brother's a major engineer. So these were kids that were disadvantaged, first generation kids like myself. And so as a social worker and in education, I blended those two to help folks overcome, and give them the opportunity and help them empower to make decisions and improve their life. And that's the result. That's a legacy I think that I have in my community.
And a very powerful one as well. So talk to me about your next career move from here.
So my next career move, I got into real estate. I was up late one night watching Carlton Sheets.
I used to watch them in college.
Yeah, exactly.
I bought the kit. I bought the kit as well.
I bought the kit. I went to the
That's how I maxed
seminar.
out my first credit card.
Exactly. And you know what? I don't know those type of people, D. I'm going to hold it to the letter law. If this is how you can do it, you can do it. And I actually bought my first investment property with no money down, used like that whole formula.
Really?
I flipped it and made $42,000.
I bought my first home with no money down as well. While I was in college, I bought the Carlton Sheets program. And I remember I had a Visa, MasterCard or something, but it had like a $750 limit. And I want to say that program was like $749. And I swiped it. but I ended up buying a non-qualifying assumable loan. Back in the 80s, they had loans that you could sell the property and you could sell it to a buyer who did not have to go through any type of qualification process. And I found a seller who had moved out of state and wanted to get rid of the responsibility of the mortgage, and I assumed it with no money down. I did pay some closing costs, around $400 or $500 in closing costs, but that was pretty much the extent of it, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it came a point in my life where I left the Ohio State University. I said, I always said I'm going to get back to being an entrepreneur, and I started my real estate company, development company, and construction. I got up one of my buddies whose family was in construction. And he said, come on, just work on the job site with me. I need you to be my site manager, my superintendent. I'm going to teach you everything you know how to do. So I learned how to drive the backhoe, Bobcat. I could get up on the roof. I could do what I needed. So I managed it. And through that process, I gained, a whole database of trade substance. And so then I created my own company. I got my real estate license, and my broker, who was a longtime friend of mine and 30 years in the game, is my mentor. And so every morning I said, I want you to mentor me. He said, okay, fine. I need you to see you at the gym at 5 a.m. I said, what? He said, it's the only time I got.
Yeah.
So he knew that if I got to the gym at 5 a.m., that I wasn't going to be hanging out at night.
Right. And so that you're serious.
That I was serious. And so we'd work out, and then we would, talk about it in the steam room. And I had the playbook every day to do what I need to do. He took me to trainings, that none of the other agents would go to. And I learned every training I would go to, I learned something. I learned this one opportunity. It was called where the seller, I brought a buyer, and the seller said, okay, I want $25,000 for this house. And I said, okay, no problem. I got work with investors. Can we, anything over $25,000 that you want is my commission. He said, yeah, no problem. I said, great, sign this. He signed the contract, and I sold that house for $68,000.
Wow.
Then I took off that hat, and I became the contractor for the rehab and made more. So, going through educational trainings, going to these conferences, if it's just one nugget I would take out and I would apply it. Yes. Just like Carlton Sheets, I was like, wow, it works. So those are,
Well, that's kind of the difference maker. People get information every day, but don't use it. So if you get the knowledge and the wisdom and never actually apply it, it's just like not having it. So the act of actually implementing it is the key to being successful. I want to ask you about your company, Business Briefings, LLC. Talk to me about that company and what you are doing there.
Okay, great. Thank you. Business Briefings, LLC was formed out of pandemic. Whenever there's a crisis, it brings about creativity.
Always.
And it came to a point in my career when I was working at the Urban League as a director of the Entrepreneurship Center here in Bryan County, that I have fulfilled my legacy in terms of small business lending. We got a CDFI and put about $6 million out in the community for small business lending. And during the pandemic, it gave me a chance to transition. I had fulfilled that legacy. And I started my business to take the same skills, the transferable skills that you use on the job. I created that business. And so Business Briefings is a strategic business consulting firm, from startups to large businesses. We are a relationship company. It's all about relationship management.
Yeah.
I met you through a result of relationships through my business, and strategically working with these relationships and making input and looking at different things, opportunities. And that's when then I got a big contract. My largest contract is with the National Development Council. They are national CDFI, real estate developer, small business lending, new market tax credit, market credits, as well as P3 groups projects.
Yeah.
And so I'm the relationship manager for the state of Florida. I have about $100 million to put out in small business lending, but I work with the businesses. I go in and provide technical assistance, help them get the financials together, and then walk them through the process of access to capital. And then once they get that capital, then Business Briefings goes in and rolls their sleeves up to make sure that they can pay that loan back, but also to help them scale.
Yeah.
And in that process, there's some compensation opportunities for the business as well.
Wow. That's good work that you're doing. And I know you've been helping small businesses in the community for some time now. So talk to me about some of the work you've done in that area with some of the other organizations that you've been with.
Okay, great. Well, I'm a co-founding member of the Broward County Black Chamber of Commerce. I have been on several boards. I am also on the Dania Beach Marine Advisory Committee. So the boards and opportunities, I was on the board member for the Conference of Minorities in Transportation. So what that is, these organizations help me provide additional resources for the small businesses that I'm working with. And being a part of these organizations help grow the network.
Yeah.
To be able to, I've got one young lady that she was my very first client as a consultant at Business Briefings. She just got Forbes magazine, the top 30 entrepreneurs under 30.
Wow.
We just got her a contract with Broward Schools, which is the 6th largest school district in the United States. And so we helped her. We just got her contract, tutoring contract district wide. And so, that's just one of the experiences. I've helped a young lady who's got her hair care products now and going into Target. I helped one young man who got his product into Walmart. And so working with those businesses, down here in South Florida as well, providing that opportunity, it's been, I feel that my purpose in my life is to help folks grow, help them scale, help them see things that they don't see.
Right.
And so I consider myself a primary care physician in the business world.
That's a good analogy. So
you check the vitals and everything, huh?
Right, that's right. So Bryan, I want to know from you though, what do you want your legacy to be?
Great question. Jermaine Smith, Dr. Jermaine Smith Barr, at the CEO at the Urban League of Broward County, asked me that when I came. I couldn't tell her that until I left. But my legacy is understanding the purpose. And if I've helped one person grow, help one person succeed, the impact, and, I can say, hey, I touched that business. I touched that person's life.
Right.
And whatever I said, whatever we did, it comes back. And to see that is my purpose. That's my legacy. Yeah. When they look back, oh, Bryan helped me do this. Business Briefings helped me do this. This is where I am today because he helped us. He contributed to the bottom line of us. And I think touching some folks in that way, mentoring them, that's my legacy.
And that's a great legacy to have as well. And one that surely is not underrated. I do want to know from you, having worked with so many small businesses, helping them get their feet planted firmly on the ground to get started, what bit of advice would you give to any aspiring entrepreneur?
I would say, chase that purpose in your business. Don't focus on the financials and making money right away. You got to understand what problem are you going to solve in your business to improve the world, to improve society? Do you have a purpose to improve? And I think if you focus on that, everything else will come, and that will bring you influence as you become successful it brings about influence and it gives you platforms to be on levels like this with you.
Right, right. I tell people all the time that, if you find something that you can have, it's your purpose. It means more to you than just receiving compensation. You can really create a rewarding and fulfilling career for yourself. Being able to change lives and impact communities, that's the type of work that I love to hear about and I love to do personally.
Absolutely. One thing that we have is to be successful. There's two things in life that we're unable to deal with, and we have to deal with. That's time and change. And how you manage time and change depends on how successful you're going to be. It tells you at a point in your life. And I had a point in my life where I lived overseas in London, England, for a period of time. I had a time in my life where I said, I'm always going to move to South Florida. And it came to a point in my life where I did that. Yeah. And as my son is a former NFL player. And so those are things that have impacted my life. Living the dream, putting out your vision and then executing that.
Right.
That's the fulfillment. I get it. I mean, that's my purpose every day when I wake up.
Well, Bryan, listen, man, I have enjoyed having you on the show. I'm glad that you and your family are safe from the hurricane that passed through last night. And Absolutely. As always, brother, it's good to see you, and thank you so much for being on the show. And to my viewers, thank you for watching this episode of Self-Made with Dee Brown CEO. And remember, without you, there's no me.